Well, she just got found. I wait till I find a chair. And so she just sat down. Let me go.
Good job.
I love you, Julie.
That was on recording. I have proof.
There's proof.
That's okay. So, as I began to change, okay, you guys know the story up to this point. I got better, physically better. Started from what we did that last time, started to kind of find out who I was. I started taking a lot of different classes, learning a lot of different things, reading a lot of different books. Because I have the intent of, I need to know who I am. I'm not just a post for holding everybody's stuff. Because basically that's what, I am mom, that's what happens. And then I found out it's holding all my grandkids' stuff. And I have everything and everybody else is having fun and I'm the one sitting in the middle holding all this stuff. That's not much of a life. So you start looking around, you start figuring stuff out, and then you start to change. Because you start to say, you know what, I deserve a life. I have things to give to people. I have things to give back. So I start to change. So when you start to change, everybody around you starts to take notice that you're changing because things are different. And it used to be, like I said, I was really good about making myself invisible. That's why I could end up holding everybody's stuff, and they wouldn't even remember giving it to me because I was no better than a post to just dump everything on because I was really good at being invisible. So some of them actually see, as you begin to change, your change, as a threat to their own way of life. Has nothing to really do with you, but they know how things are going to be. And like my instance, they know I will be sitting right here when they come back an hour later holding their stuff. This is what happens. So it's a threat to them because now things are changing. What's going to happen when she starts to change? What's going to happen when she learns to move? And she's got mobility. She can move from this spot. She can do other things. So you can start to listen for keywords around you. When people start to talk, they might start suggesting that you become quite selfish. You're very self-centered anymore. You used to, selfish is a big word. Why are you taking care of you? What about happened to all of us? They accuse you of being very selfish. They also say you're different. Why are you different? What was wrong with how things were? What was wrong with everything? We were fine. Life was good. We kind of liked you being invisible in a post. That was kind of sweet. We liked you never saying no. If we needed somebody to, that was all really nice. It worked really well for us. Why would you want to change and ruin our lives? Why do you want to upset the boat? So these are all attempts of people around you to keep you in your place because they don't want you to change. And it's not because of you. It's because they see it as a threat to them. It really has nothing to do with you. So they're very comfortable with how things are going, even if you are not. So they get really upset with you. So you start out, you need to know what you prefer instead of humbly saying amen to what the world tells you you ought to prefer. And I misspelled that, I just realized. And that is to keep your soul alive. In order, we get these voids because something's missing. Because we've tried and tried and tried and tried to be what the world thinks we should be. And it's not who we are. And we start to feel that, and it starts to leave an empty hole. And it starts, we feel it with different things. Some people feel it with food, some people feel it with illness, some people feel it with 10 billion things that they're going to just keep running around so busy that they don't have to look at their life and see what's really going on. So, but it's all the same thing. It's all the same void. It's all the same, I don't know what to do with me, so I've got to do all these other things because I don't know where I'm at. So again, before you began to discover who you really are, you really focused on everyone and everything around you. It was all out there because you didn't want to look in here because who knows what in here is at all. We don't know. So you pushed yourself, that part of you, into this big, deep, dark hole. And you shoved it down because you don't want to look at that anymore. And you left yourself there. For some of us, for years. For years and years and years. It's just, no, life's easier if I just do status quo. If I'm invisible, I make people happy. Life's happy, there's no conflict, nobody's mad, nobody's upset with me. I don't like people being upset with me, so I'm gonna stay in this little hole because I wanna hide from myself. So, but then it scares those around you because you start saying, I don't wanna be in this hole anymore, I'm tired of this hole. I need to come out and I need to be me because all these years I've been what you wanted me to be and I'm totally miserable by it. I've gone through being sick. I've gone through all this. It's time I need to do this and I needed to do it for me. And they don't like that because the more you nurture yourself, you actually start to reconnect with that creator inside of you, okay? With that power that's been in there the whole time, that you've hid from it as well. And you start to get that connection back. We all know, you guys have touched in that as we've come through. You've touched that space again. And you found that space that you decided not to look at because you're all on the outside. And now it's inside. You moved inside. So the best thing that you can do for all of these people around you who are scared because they don't know where you're going. They don't know, I mean, in my case, my husband says, I don't even know who you are. Who did I marry? This is the person you married. I never changed. I'm still the same person, but he doesn't recognize this person because I squashed it down. So the best thing you can do is keep moving ahead and healing, because then you're an example to everybody else on how it is to heal. It's really uncomfortable for them. You have to remember, though, it's about them. It's not about you. This is really their problem. They're very uncomfortable with your changing. But you can't go back. Once you touch that inside of you, you have to be true to yourself. You cannot go back. There's no way you can go back. It hurts too bad to go back. So you have to keep forging ahead. Don't allow their fears to keep you from your path. Because you know that you have to do this. And the more you touch that creator inside of you, the more you get pushed to do this. The more you start to live in joy, the more you're like, I don't want to give this up. And that's not being selfish. That's being honest to who you are. And again, yes?
There are steps we can take though, because I was concerned with my husband feeling that way, and if he's not a recent investment, we've been married 50 years.
Right, right.
So,
I like that.
so he doesn't understand Reiki. However, he has done acupuncture things, so he gets the concept.
Right.
But while I felt very strongly that he would be uncomfortable with you, because of Julie being a masseuse, I was able to ask him to come with me and see Julie at the same time that I'm seeing Debbie. He's not threatened. You got to be threatened with. He's not threatened with Julie. So there are things we can do to nurture them that's inside their comfort zone. Yeah. So there are things we can do.
There are, and if you come out slow and deep, because I can tell you, Brad he was not happy with Reiki. Actually, nobody in my family was very happy. Can't you just be a massage therapist? We understand what that is. But the interesting thing, and it's years. I mean, this is not a slow process, okay? Even just this weekend, when I'm discussing negative ions, and he's going to see Adam, because he's just now, I want to see what this is all. I think I need to start figuring what this is about. Again, we're 37 years together and coming through. So you be the example, and you just know it's going to be okay. And there's rough patches. I mean, they're coming through, but it's inside you. And that's where it comes from. It starts to emanate out from you. I mean, he's starting, he was asking me, he goes, wow, you know a lot of stuff. I said, yeah, he thought those books were nonsense.
Yeah, my husband thinks that I practice voodoo.
The one thing, no, you remember, your own personal healing is actually the greatest gift you can give to them. Because when you are a whole person, you have so much more to give than when you're not. So when you are really whole in yourself, that is your best gift to give to anybody in the world. And because then it starts to push out and spread out and move on, and it's huge. And so that's how important healing yourself is. And because they will feel it and not understand it, and they will fight it, but eventually they start to ask questions because they want to know.
I think you are correct in that there is an approach to be made. I'm always amazed that I am so, and always have been, so I do agree with you that you always have been this way. You just were afraid to act on it or to talk about it. But I have always been really interested in what's it all about.
Right.
What is life about? What's bigger than me? I want to know more about that. To me, it's the most fascinating. There isn't anything that compares to that for me.
Right.
And I'm always amazed that people aren't as curious about it as I am. And it's not, I think I'm starting to learn that they just aren't. It's not a drive in them. And it's almost like looking at some discussion, some topic, and not understanding why somebody doesn't see it the same way that you do.
Right.
They don't. Could be for a variety of reasons, their upbringing, their whatever variable in their life, they're going to see it differently. But it is a process to understand that there is a way, because I know that I've done that with Kyle, to just talk about this stuff a little bit so that it's not quite so out there. For me, religion was really huge for me before I came here. It still is. I mean, I'm still a Christian. I always will be. But it, like I said, I've always said it wasn't working for me. And but many parts of it do. But Kyle was not on board with that either to that extent. Right. So I mean, there's a way to bring people into it so that it's not so over the top.
Yeah.
And I
because
think that's what you're talking about.
Yes. And you know the people around you, and the ones closest to you. I mean, poor Brad, he did get hit right over the head because he read the book.
Unattended.
And you want to come on board because you want to be able to talk to them.
Yes.
In a real conversation about it. They're living in your home.
I
You
know.
want to be able to talk about it because it's interesting.
Because it's interesting.
And it's important.
Yeah, and it's
So.
part of your life.
Yeah.
And it's part of who you are, really. Because it's not something, it's you. It is who you are. And everything you do in every part of every day, it's who you are. It's not something you have to think about doing. It's just that I'm flowing and this is how it is because, hello, this is me.
Well, you say you had a thirst for more. Some people are afraid of more. They don't want to delve into the stuff of the universe because it scares them. I mean, think about it. I think as a child I was kind of afraid to think beyond, the bounds of what I knew, thinking about the universe as being infinite or finite, having an edge to it. What's beyond that? And it just, I couldn't comprehend it. And people are like that. When there's something that confuses them and scares them, they pull back from it. And so, I've come a long ways.
Yes.
May I do an aside, or
Yes.
would you rather wait it till the end?
No, go ahead.
Is anyone here acquainted with Michael Meade and the Mosaic Institute? Michael Meade is an amazing man. He's a mythologist, and he looks at ancient stories in all kinds of cultures, and he sees how they're the same stories that we're dealing with today. And he really believes that young people are doing the drugs and things as a way to reach this thing that we're trying to get to in a different way. And that elderly people do that too by getting hooked on their meds and their drugs. They're trying to reach the next place, but not in the same way we are.
So, and what institute is he with?
Mosaic, it's yeah.
But see, but there's also that, I don't know, experience in my family that, you know, it would be nice, it'd be great if you could really think that people were taking drugs in order for the sake of trying to purposely reach that nirvana or reach higher up. But some of these things, once you take it like math, a couple times, you're hooked. You're stuck. And they're kind of stuck until they have to really force themselves out of it, and it doesn't. And so and they just do it either for just a high because everybody wants to do it, or they want to be part of the crowd, or either that, or they just want to avoid dealing with their life issues.
He could be wrong, but I do see some merits in what he says.
Well, yeah.
Clark Gable was that way with LSD. That's why he loved it, because it took him
Because it's
to
to the next
that,
level.
what
Yeah.
he felt was his enlightenment.
It opened his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Clark Gable.
I did not know.
Yeah.
Michael Mead, is that his name? Now, is he saying that it's purposeful, or it's just kind of organic that they're doing this
It
unconsciously
could be
to try to?
totally unconsciously. He
Okay,
believes it
yeah, I can believe
unconsciously or
that.
consciously.
Mhm.
It's happening.
There's, centuries of people doing that, using peyote or, whatever to take them to what they think is a more spiritual plane.
And I'm on tape, so I got the wrong actor. So I have to correct
We don't want the family of Clark Gable getting a hold of
Clark Gable,
it.
no, not Clark Gable. He's the funny guy oh god. I'll think of his name, but it's not Clark Gable.
Cary Grant?
Cary Grant, yes, thank
Kind of
you. Cary Grant.
yeah.
Yes. It's like, oh,
Interesting.
Clark Gable, that's not right.
He's a serious-
He sure is. Yeah, Cary Grant, sorry, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so let's go on. We're going to touch on the thing because as you start to change, fear kicks in. Okay, as you start to see people around you reacting, you start to have fear. And it's really hard to let that fear go so that you can move ahead and continue on your own path. Because people actually will let fear stop them completely in your tracks. And you never go anywhere. And a lot of people will allow themselves to slide backwards and go right back to how they used to be and be miserable the rest of their life because they're too afraid of the consequences of moving forward. So, you see your friends, you see your family, and they're all reacting to the things that you see as a change for the better. And they don't see it that way. Some do. Some are really happy because they see you change. But when they react negatively, it causes a reaction in you. And all of a sudden, you begin to slip in your resolve, to continue to study, to continue to learn, to meditate, to do the things you need to do to move forward, okay? Because you feel that around you and you let it affect you. So you start to slip and you no longer are being your authentic self. And you just think, okay, and just let life happen to you instead of holding on to your life and pushing yourself forward. Fear is a very, very real thing. And it causes all types of reactions in your body whenever you allow fear to come into being. So, does fear or stress actually control you? That's kind of what we're going to get into this. We have to know stress, we can actually almost interchange those two words, fear and stress. Stress is actually socially accepted form of fear. People, if you tell people you're stressed out, that's cool, that's fine. They'll accept that. So like if you say, oh, I'm so stressed at work, it's kind of the code for I can't get all my work accomplished and I'm really afraid I might lose my job. You're afraid. You're really not stressed, you're afraid. It stresses me out when I'm late getting home. Julie's heard me say this before, but the truth is I'm afraid I'll make my husband angry with me if I stay out too late. I'm afraid of making him mad. Stresses me out to fly. That's code for I'm afraid of flying, but I'm not going to tell you that. I'm just stressed. Stress and fear are interchangeable. We have to remember fear is something we don't like to admit, A lot of times fear is not socially accepted. It makes us look bad, but we can always we use the word stress a lot. So when you find yourself using the word stress, slip fear in there instead and see what you're really saying. What is it you're really talking about here? We have to understand what fear and stress actually does to your body. It's actually a series that you go through. First you have a triggering event. So like your friend comes in and says, what is wrong with you these days? You're so weird, okay? It sets off a trigger. And suddenly your body goes into this flight or fight response because it's like, what are they thinking? Second, you go into that, your body releases about 1,400 different hormones. It's instant. It is flying all through you, from one end of you to the other. So the more you stay here in this spot, you're pumping out cortisone, and you're pumping out prolactin, vasopressin. All this stuff is going on in your system because you're now there. Whether it's something real or not doesn't matter. Your body has no idea. It cannot tell the difference. So we're going to learn a little bit about what fear actually does and stress actually does and how it works. Because you have to be able to, in order to move forward, you have to be able to start working and dealing with your stress and your fear in a proactive way and helping it to work for you rather than allow it to continue to break you down and to beat you up. So we're going to actually concentrate on the cortisol that gets released whenever we get that fear going, well, and how it rages in your body. Actually, cortisols that are known as a stress hormone. It's known to, there's a ton of different diseases that can be actually pulled back into cortisol. And we're going to work on DHEA, which is also known as the vitality hormone, because it's due to its anti-aging properties. So the one thing we really want to be is we want to be in DHEA because we want to have that going on. We want our body to be vibrant, to grow, and to be happy and to be healthy. So cortisol is produced in the adrenal glands anytime we're in a stressful or fearful time. So that's every time that I would start to get nervous because time was getting late, I needed to get home. And I was worried that Brad was really afraid of his reaction. Well, I set off that fear and my cortisol was flying. And I would actually get jumpy and antsy and I had to leave because I drive myself crazy to get out of here. Of course, then, as we learned later, manifestation, he was mad by the time I got home. But I set those vibes out. I set up the scenario for that to happen before I ever got out of here. So excessive cortisol has all these different effects on the body. It destroys brain cells as well. In the hippocampus, which is a region of the brain associated with learning and memory. So it's going in there. So the more you have on that, the more you can't think, the more it starts messing that up. DHEA is also produced in the adrenal glands, and it actually helps to reverse the unfavorable psychological effects that come with excessive stress. So we have our own little thing built in to help us reverse what we do when we get stressed out. Okay, the problem with this is that cortisol and DHEA are created in the same place. When you're making one, you cannot make the other. So if you're pumping cortisol, if you're stressed, you can't do the DHEA because it's coming from the same place. So as long as you're doing one, you are not doing the other. So it's really important to learn how to get this stress under control and to really learn how to work with the stress and the fears and the things that happen to us as those people around us start to send out the negative, get upset with you, do whatever, and how you react to it. So we need to learn how to kind of keep that under control. You guys all have this little stress and all the different things that stress actually does to the body. And my sister is a nurse practitioner, and she says the same thing, that 60 to 80% of primary care doctor visits are related to stress. Yet only 3% of the patients receive stress management to help out. And she said a lot of people, if she could just get them to handle their stress and to learn how to deal with that, they wouldn't be in her office. They would feel so much better. So you really have to understand, not only is this fear keeping you from moving forward, it's actually physically affecting you. And it messes your whole body, your whole system up. So part of what we're going to learn today is how to handle that stress. We're going to start with meditation. That's a really good way to start handling the stress, to kind of go inside and work with that. Because we all need to move forward, and we all need to be who we are. And this is one of the things that I had to learn, was really how to deal with that stress and to deal with people not liking me, people being mad at me. First time I told my daughter no, that I didn't want to watch her kids, I felt so guilty. I called her back an hour later and said, okay, I'm gonna come down and watch them. But that was me, not her. So I let it eat me, I let it keep going. So you need to kind of learn how to do these and keep them into perspective. So we have to realize we have our sympathetic nervous system. If you put this little nice grid here, which is your flight or fight. That's whenever things happen, and we have to have adrenaline running, because if you don't, you're not going to survive in this world. If you have no adrenaline, you're not going to get out of bed in the morning. You're just going to zone out. So adrenaline has its space in what we're doing. We need it as people to keep moving. Okay? So that's clear up here at this top end. So we understand that. So then we come down to parasympathetic is on the opposite end. That's when we're really nice and zoned out and we're happy. Heart rate's slow, our breathing is slow. Everything is going just like we need it to go. Then we have cortisol on one side, and we have DHEA on the other side. And remember, we don't want to manufacture cortisol. Cortisol is bad for our system. And to give you an example, cortisol has a half-life of 13 hours. Now, if you're talking about a drug, that means when you first take that drug, its half-life is when you need to take your next dose, so it's consistently in your system. So you always have it running in your system. Half-life of cortisol is 13 hours. So you get that first hit of cortisol, now you're not pumping it anymore, but it's in your system. If stress and things go smoothly for you, you can eventually get it out of your system. But if you take another hit, you're going to have it in there, and it's going to continue longer. And you get another hit, and it's going to continue longer. It's going to continue longer. So whenever we have negative thoughts, and we keep reliving bad things, our mind doesn't know the difference from that being something that happened yesterday and something that's happening right now, today. And it reacts the exact same way. So say you're driving down the freeway and you have a near miss with your car and you slammed on your brakes, and now that's a good thing. Adrenaline, you needed to do that. You needed to react, you needed to do that fast, so you got that hit of cortisol, but you did what you needed to do and you survived. If you left it there, you'd be fine. But then you go to work and you say, oh my God, you know what happened today? This crazy idiot came and jumped. Okay, your mind just had that hit again because you just relived it. Your mind does not know that did not just happen. Then you go to lunch with your friends and oh my God, you know what happened to me today? You come home to your husband, oh my God. So see the cycle you're in? Every single time you brought that back up and you felt that emotion again, you got another hit. And with each hit, you quit making the DHEA. You quit giving your body what it needs. You quit doing the healthy part of what's going to bring you along. So that's what happens with our fears as we're trying to change. And we're doing things differently, and then somebody says one negative thing to us, and we're like, oh! And then we're like, oh no, I gotta shut it down. And you may not say it out loud, but every time you think that thought again of what they said, you're taking another hit. And you end up getting yourself into a cycle. And sometimes it's a cycle you cannot get out of. And you end up going downhill, instead of being able to get healthier and move along and with your life.
The PTSD, that's kind of like
It's a constant hit.
It's a constant hit. You're constantly thinking about that.
No, you're not constantly thinking about it. You have intrusive thoughts, you have bad memories and stuff like that. But you have to remember what she's talking about is was a sympathetic and the parasympathetic, right? Sympathetic, you can somewhat control, you cannot.
Yes.
That's which in your body. Your brainstem, well, your brain up here takes Okay, the frontal lobe is more reason and the way your personality is. The back, which is more of the balance and stuff. The place where the triggers for the cortisol and DHEA and those things come from is often called your reptilian brain, which is below your brain in the brain stem. So the spinal cord comes up into the skull cavity, and then there's that little bit of stem that's about that long. That's your reptilian brain. That's where your first brains when you were a baby and stuff. It's as your brain evolves, that your brain stem has less and less response, or less and less to do with what you're doing. When you have those like as you're saying, repetitive exposure to the same trauma, and cortisol keeps going up, and not only does it keep going up, but when you have a significant act or repeated exposure to stressors, your brain has a superhighway of the way information goes, right? If you're looking at it, there's two long ones that are really good, and then there's other ones that spread out. Under cortisol, if you keep expose yourself to that same repetitive act, as you say, talking to this person, this one brings up the emotions again. It's like when you're making another favorite street map. So you're making this line, and each time that you think about it, the cortisol and your brain will make this line again and again. Pretty soon it gets to be so ingrained in your mind, such a good pathway, that you can go from 0 to 100. There's nothing in the middle.
There's
So
no
that's why,
stop.
that's why there's
Or like,
some of the guys that come back, or I should say not the guys, but when it PTSD and it's up, you can have a car wreck out here and get signs and symptoms of PTSD, with avoidance and all that. Each time you get involved in that stressor, it gets reported, or it gets that cortisol, gets recorded faster time and time again. You're not going to have the, oh, I'm starting to get a little bit perturbed, or I'm getting a little bit more.
It's
It's
just
from
there.
0 to 100.
Yes.
And in PTSD treatment and just in CBT or cognitive behavior therapy for the things that you had back in the past, whatever, you got to try to write new memories or write new pathways.
Rewire the brain.
Yeah,
so that's more like muscle memory, like if you
Yeah, it can be-
practice continuously, like in
Mhm.
martial arts, you
But-
continue to practice the same way, then you automatically, when something occurs that you need to utilize it just automatically happens.
Well, it's not really muscle memory, it's brain memory.
Yeah,
The
The
brain,
neural pathway
you're
you
writing,
create.
you're writing that pathway
right.
Yeah, it's
within
like
your motor
bugs and
nerves.
bugs.
Sounds like some Joe
Yeah,
Dispenza
back in
science.
That's exactly what it is.
Cerebellum is where it controls all of your motor, and as you muscle memory, they call it,
So
it's
is it-
actually brain memory.
Is it why some people